Welcome to it, sports fans. It is from the Bleachers with me, MKT. What a day it's been in the Premier League. Big announcement there of a new manager at Fulham. Cannot wait to talk about that. We're going to talk today a little bit about the managerial sack race within the Premier League and world football in general. And of course, I was massively surprised by Fulham and what they did this morning. So looking forward to chatting about that. And then I'm going to give you my top 4 relegation and top 4 finishes in the Premier League. Of course, we're about a third through the season, so I thought I'd give my predictions moving forward. So about 12 games in, international break, of course. And talking of the international break, does international football still have a place on the European calendar and indeed in world football? So, of course, that is a big part of our lives. If you're a sports fan like myself, a football fan like myself, and indeed a Premier League fan like myself, there is nothing worse for me than an international break. But we're going to talk about that. Does international football still have a place, or should it be done away with? Let's not waste any more time. I can't wait. I've got an awesome episode. Doing the research today and last evening for today's show was awesome. Of course, I had to change the topic at the last minute because the managerial sack race. That is what I'm going to start with. You know, when I go to the shops, I've noticed something about myself. Is if I don't go with a list, you know, even if I'm just going to go, and I've done this so many times, I'm sure many people have, is I just want to get some bread. Like, oh, I'm out of bread, I'm going to go to the shop. I live close to the shops, I walk to the shops. And I don't have a list though. You know, if you don't have a list, you'll often start to adjust on the fly. Like, okay, I came for bread, but I think the milk's finished. And did we have 2 eggs? And if you've got roommates, did they have eggs for breakfast? Oh, I can't remember. Are there 2 eggs? Maybe I wanted to bake. Let me get some eggs as well. Oh, you know what? While I'm at it, let me get some snacks because I can't remember if I've got any left. And then you walk past the lady's basket and she's got some ribs in there. And you're like, oh my goodness, I've been meaning to make ribs forever. You haven't had ribs in like 3 years, but okay, you've just seen ribs. Now you want that as well. So you walked in with no basket. Eventually you've got a trolley and it's about half full. Because now all your toiletries, which you've got far too many of at home anyway, now you've got to get those as well. Because you don't have a list. You don't have a plan. You came in there and you're doing it off the cuff. I do it all the time. And it's very annoying. But I keep repeating it. You know, in life, if you want to be successful, and I've done some research of successful people, they all talk about having a compass. Because when you're in the desert and you're lost and you're stranded, you need to know where true north is. Not north, true north. Where is true north? If you need to go north, you need a compass. And in business and sport, you need a plan. Just like when you go to the shops, if you go without a list, you end up buying far too much and going way above your budget, and everything's out the window. In sport and in business, your head cannot be on a swivel. You can't be looking at what's the opposition doing, what are they doing. You can keep an eye on market indicators, but your head cannot be on a swivel. If you have a plan, stick to the plan. And the plan in sport and business is always to win. The beauty of sport is that it's such a short menu. If it was a restaurant, it's just wins and losses. It's so great. You can measure it like that. It's just so easy. It's not complicated. It's not like life where there's so many variables. We're gonna measure you by wins and losses. And the beauty of this age of analytics is you can figure out how to win and lose. You can figure out how to win and lose. The template's already there. Information is available at everybody's fingertips. Nobody needs an office anymore. If you've got a powerful cell phone, you've got a laptop with you, you have the internet with you, you have everything at your fingertips all the time. Never mind these billionaire institutions that employ analytics people, 5 or 6 smart people. They all go to Ivy League universities around the world. They get employed and they get stuck in an office to check all the players in the world. It's a world of information now. You have no excuses. especially at the sharp end, especially in the Premier League. This morning I woke up to hear that Claudio Ranieri will replace Slaviša Jokanovic at Fulham. And the first thing that came to my mind is, has the world gone mad? Has the world gone mad? Have I gone crazy, or has the world gone mad? I think the world's gone mad. Why do you sack a guy who's a young, up-and-coming manager, and you know Claudio Ranieri's record is he'll be sacked in 2 years? Odds are Fulham aren't going to do great this season. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. But Claudio Ranieri, at most, gives you 2 years. History tells you that. So what, you push restart again? In 2 years' time? And then you could be in League One. And I'm not making that up. Ask Leeds. Ask Sunderland. The money is not the issue for Fulham. The plan is the issue. When you go to the shops, if you're going just for bread, take a list. You're going to end up buying eggs, looking what other people in their basket. Oh, they've got ice cream. Maybe I need more ice cream. I haven't tried that strawberry flavor. That's what Fulham are doing right now. Why on earth would you sack a guy who's been with the club for 3 years and is starting to shape a football club in his identity? It doesn't make sense. The model is quite simple in sport and in any business, but in sport in particular. You find the talent, you find a coach, and you let them stay together for an extended period of time. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And you know, in football, particularly at this sharp end, the manager is the most important person at the football club. This is what these new age owners don't understand, and they refuse to accept. And I know it's win and win now, but if you really want to win, and remember, for all clubs, it's not the same. Some clubs are aiming top 6. Some clubs are just happy to be in the top 15, 16, 17. You want to avoid the relegation. Just to be in the Premier League is a victory for some clubs. Fulham are adopting a Manchester City model. We want to go big, we want to go now, we're going to spend big. By their standards, they've spent £100 million. Slaviša were not off to the best start, his defense has let him down. But Fulham should use the Bournemouth and Burnley model. And by that, for those who don't know, Burnley have come from the 4th division of football, but from League One, which is now essentially the 3rd division of football, with the same manager, Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is starting to shape Bournemouth in his own image. He's a fun, energetic young guy, and football clubs, sports teams, always take on their head coach's personality. Howe is new age, edgy, and he's got a little bit of money to spend, so he's got the quality at last, but he's shaping the club in his own image. And what the owners of Bournemouth are appreciating is that the most important person at a football club is not the players. The fans are a given. I always say that it's a given that and the fans. Whatever I say about football clubs, it's and the fans. But the most important person at the football club is not the players. Players come and go. Players get injured. Players get emotional. But the club needs leadership. And the leadership comes from the manager, because he picks the personnel, he picks how aggressive we're going to be, and essentially his personality is expressed in what you're going to do. And the only way for a manager to establish that is time, because some players can't be coached. Some players don't want to be coached. Some players are stuck with the previous manager. So what you need to do is give the new guy or a manager your backing, absolute authority, that if anybody gets out of line, anybody doesn't buy into the system, the manager is the alpha and the omega. But when you do what Fulham have done, you create chaos. Because now they know that no matter what, and Slaviša got them promotion after they hadn't been in the league in 4 years. Burnley. Look at what Burnley did. Sean Dyche got the relegation, but they said no. Okay, he's learnt in the Premier League, this is the real model I think Fulham should have gone with. It's been a long, long time since they've been in the Premier League. Allow this man to see who's good enough for this league when the chips are down. Getting relegated financially is no longer a train smash. And trust me, with this Fulham squad, with this Fulham team, if you could just get a core and keep the core of the guys, they'll be back. They're already mostly his players. All you need to do is add a little bit of quality. And when he comes back, then Fulham, like Burnley look like, are going to be in the Premier League for a decade. But no, they want to win. They want to win now. Claudio Ranieri will be gone in 2 years. It'll be chaos again. Eddie Howe took a team from League One, and the team is now in his image. Bournemouth are going nowhere. They're going to be around for a decade, if not more. They're pushing as a top 8 club after only 4 years in the Premier League. Eddie Howe, take a bow. But that is what happens when you take talent, you take a manager, you give him authority, complete authority over footballing matters, and you let those two stay together for an extended period of time. You know, not everybody can marry Scarlett Johansson. That's just not how life works. You have to be realistic. What did Fulham think was going to happen this season? You don't get to be away for 4, 5, 6 years and you just come back and you're up to speed. The Premier League is evolving and changing. There are players and managers coming up with brilliant solutions from around the world. There's more data. They've already analyzed you, even if you are a championship side, before you get into the big time. So not only are you at a deficit in terms of quality, but your subpar players, face it, that's what Fulham have already been analyzed. It's not like the good old days where you were a surprise package and Fulham could just come up and shock people. You have to be realistic. There's only one supermodel. Even the best looking models in the world, only one supermodel gets to wear the biggest diamond encrusted medal. The rest, you're at the back. There's only one. Be realistic. And Fulham have bought into the craze. And it is a product of this now. Remember, getting relegated with the amount of money you get in the championship now. Remember, the championship is the second highest grossing league in world football. Just let that sink in. After the Premier League, the championship is the second highest grossing league in the world. And when I said to you, Fulham, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find the talent, find a coach or head or manager, and let that talent stay together. You as the executives must do your job to provide the facilities and the resources to the manager should he need to upgrade, because he will need to get rid of people who won't work in his image. But if I could find it, why can't Fulham? So I'm going to give you some examples of some teams which you may know who are doing it right from across the world, because the analogy extrapolates itself across the world. You may have heard of a little team called the All Blacks. So I'm just taking it from since 2000. Why 2K? The All Blacks have had 4 coaches since 2000. That's right, 4 coaches since 2000. Of the 22 rugby championships, they've won 15 of them. They've won 2 World Cups and there's a third one coming next year. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The All Blacks are Netflix. Everybody else is a VHS tape. They have taken rugby to another level of professionalism. The system is centralized contracts. Nobody else in the world has come close to them. And they continue to arguably be the greatest sporting team on this planet. Entertainment personified, and everybody from under 12 rugby to the All Blacks plays the same rugby. 4 coaches since 2000. 15 of the 22 rugby championships have been won by the men in black, and 2 World Cups and a 3rd one in Japan is inevitable next year. They're going to be the first team to three-peat. They're going to be the first team to go 3 in a row. The New England Patriots, an enigma, a dynasty. It never happens in American football, the NFL. They've had one guy, he's the grumpiest man alive, but he is a defensive genius, Bill Belichick. Since 2005 Super Bowls, they've been to the Super Bowl 8 times. Lost Eli Manning twice with that one lucky face catch. The next teams, just to put it in perspective, the next teams have 2 Super Bowls. The Steelers, the Giants, and the Ravens since 2000. That is 18 years ago. We're going into the 19th Super Bowl of 19. The New England Patriots, including this year, I think they'll go back. They've been to 8 Super Bowls. They've won 5. That is unprecedented, because remember, in the NFL, when you are the best, your schedule's harder. They give you what's called a winning schedule, a first place schedule. They make it harder for you the next season. The worst team gets to pick first in the first round. So they get the best athletes. So for 18 years, New England has had the toughest schedule, and they don't get to pick until like 19 deep. Bill Belichick has been there for 18 years. He's built a dynasty. They've allowed him to build a model of consistency and brilliance in his own image. Bill Belichick, if you haven't heard his press conferences, go and YouTube them. He is the most dull man in the world, but my goodness, can he coach? And Mr. Kraft has given him the reins. Along with Tom Brady, they are the dynasty of American sport, and we may never see it again. Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson have nothing on this duo. The other one, and it may pain many people to hear it out there, but there's a certain team in Manchester who had one guy for 27 years. It equaled 13 titles and 2 Champions Leagues. They are the only team to three-peat twice. Sir Alex Ferguson built a team very much based on his Scottish roots. That Glaswegian, the hard-nosed, work hard, and everybody buys in. We know Sir Alex Ferguson is a big unionist. Everybody buys in, or you're out. Hard-nosed from the streets of Glasgow. As I said, a football team, a sports team, takes on the personality of its manager. 27 years, they had one guy, and look at what's happening to Manchester United now. When you go to the shops, have a list. Otherwise, you're going to look around. You're going to have your head on a swivel. What are Man City doing? What are Chelsea doing? Man United panicked. David Moyes was gone in 8 months, and it has been a roller coaster since then. But Manchester United, the shining example in world football, perhaps, they had one guy, 27 years, 13 titles, 2 Champions League titles, and countless FA Cup titles. That's how you win. And remember, winning isn't necessarily winning the title for many teams. Fulham have made a catastrophic mistake. Unless you are willing to give a manager £500 million every time you sack him, stick with him. Give him 5 years. And Fulham had not a good one. I tell you, he was a great one. Owners, why you are there, executives, why you are there, stop bowing to fan pressure. It's ridiculous. You are paid the big bucks to make the hard decisions, not when it's easy. When the fans are calling for the manager's head, it is your role to be the buffer between the fans and the manager so that the manager can continue to build a team that will keep you in the league, not for 2-3 years. Because let's face it, it's all about money. These billionaires don't care about anything but money. And if you've got a plan, you'll realize that the long-term objective, Burnley realized it, Bournemouth realized it. At a stage, Stoke perhaps realized it before everybody. Stick with the manager, give him money. Bolton were the first ones to perhaps realize it. Find the talent, find the manager, let them stay together, give the manager absolute autocratic power in the club, and you will be successful. Tried and tested. Winning isn't cool. Because I see what Fulham want. It's like cool, new. Winning is boring, it is dire, and it is systematic. Winning is having a plan and sticking to it. Remember, having the plan, everybody's got a plan. But like exercise, we've all got a plan. We all want to diet. We all want to lose weight. We all want to run a marathon. But having a plan is the easiest thing in the world. Executing and sticking to the plan is where the great ones, not the good ones, because sticking to the plan for 2 years, for 3 years like Fulham did, that makes you good. That gets you into the Premier League. But if you want to stay in the Premier League, if you want to go top 6, if you want to win the Premier League, you have a plan and you stick to it. You don't go and hire a manager that'll last 2 years and then you're going to get relegated and it's mayhem again. And I bet you within 5 years, Fulham are in League One. Fulham will be relegated within 2 years and they'll have to start again. Shahid Khan, what are you doing? If you follow the NFL, of course, he is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars and they're awful. And if this is how he runs his show, we know why. I've always said to young people, when I get to talk to them, don't ever follow the money. Follow good leadership. Don't follow money, follow good leadership. Because the thing today is to follow money, but follow good leadership. Money is not rare, good leadership is rare, and Fulham have shown why they've become a yo-yo team and will continue to be. Leeds have shown you they were in the Champions League semi-final less than 15 years ago, and they've dropped down as far as the 3rd division of English football. I say to all Fulham fans, and indeed Shahid Khan, look out for that. Speaking of teams that are in trouble, I'm going to give you my top 4 predictions. So we're about a third of the season through. And it's been quite awesome so far. Great season. As expected, of course. City are doing their thing. But it's been really interesting in the middle and the bottom. Top 6, top 7. It's been pretty much what we expected. But in terms of the top 4 in the relegation, my predictions have changed a little bit, slightly. Especially in terms of relegation. So I'm going to start off with the relegation candidates, who I think will get the chop. Team I was just talking about, I'm going to give you in 18th place. They've got 11 goals in 12 games. They've conceded 31 and they've just fired their coach. The team is still gelling and the squad is thin. Remember, in England, they play right through December. The weather only gets worse. The new signings struggle in December because the weather is atrocious in England. Most continental players, as many of the Fulham new guys are, don't adjust well to British Decembers. So the team is still gelling. They've just fired the coach. 11 goals in 12 games, conceded 31, worst defense in the league. They'll finish 18th, Fulham for the chop. Just behind them in 19th place, the Bluebirds. Neil Warnock, of course, he does the classic get promotion and he gets relegated by the next season. Fired by May, that is his thing. No quality in the squad. It's a very, very leaky defense, second worst in the league. And just everything about Cardiff feels like the championship. Even their logo. Their logo even feels like a championship team. The Bluebirds, I'm afraid, will nosedive. They will finish in 19th place. I don't see Neil Warnock changing the history that he's shown recently. In 19th place, Cardiff. And for the drop, I love David Wagner. But his team are awful. I don't know how they survived last season. They scored 28 goals in the league last season. That was tied with the second worst team, which was Swansea. Swansea got relegated, just couldn't get enough draws. But Huddersfield strikers couldn't finish a fish supper at the moment. They are the worst attack, and they survived by 4 points last year, and they've added nobody. Love David Wagner. They are no better than last year, and other teams have gotten better. They've spent more money. And Klopp on a budget. I've got to say, auf Wiedersehen. They'll finish 20th. Huddersfield, bye-bye. At the other end of the table, though, I think that's where it'll get interesting. I've heard a lot of people saying Liverpool are favourites. I've got to disagree. There's no evidence for that. So in 4th place, Liverpool. They are worse going forward than they were last season. And that was their strength. They were unstoppable going forward last season and came 4th. They have not improved at goalkeeper. I think Alisson is equal to or worse than anything they've had before. 70 million wasted. I've seen enough. He is atrocious on crosses. Terrible shot stopper. And his decision making, well, if you haven't seen it, he gave away some horrendous penalties this season. Like, where are you going? In the Arsenal game, he came out for a punch. He got out-jumped, I think, by Henrik Mkhitaryan. Alisson's 6'3". He was so late for that, and I've seen so many instances where his timing has just been horrendous. Depth in midfield is no good. Fabinho showing signs that he's not ready. Naby Keita, the pace has been too much for him. He's injured. And then James Milner is their best midfielder. You can't win a league with James Milner as your best mid. Love Milner, don't love him that much. Virgil van Dijk, he's been hailed already as the new Franco Baresi. I don't know how. But VVD, he gets injured a lot. And as people get older, they don't get injured less. The last time he played a full season was in 2015. That was for Celtic in Scotland. They play like 5 games less than the English Premier League, and it is a canter for them at Celtic. Lovren is horrendous as the backup, and the expectation on him is just too much. VVD is wonderful, but he's not Franco Baresi. He hasn't improved them. He hasn't won anything before. So I say Liverpool in 4th place because the expectation had been too much for Mo Salah, one season wonder, and he isn't what was advertised. Firmino is still showing World Cup fatigue. I don't think he's the same guy as he was last year, and Sadio Mane can't do it all on his own. Mane isn't a 30 goal a season guy anyway, so where are the goals going to come from? So they've gotten marginally better at the back. They've stayed the same at goalkeeper. They came 4th last year. They're worse up front. And their midfield is shoddy. Unbeaten after 12 games, yes. December hasn't come. And they'll play Manchester City soon enough. Again. And that's going to be ugly. December is coming. Squad is thin in the middle. And Jordan Henderson is their captain. No, that's not how you win. You're going to be in 4th place. Haven't gotten any better up front, gotten worse up front. Stayed the same at goalkeeper, and the back four is pretty much the same. Nothing about that says you'll win the league. In 3rd place, the most stable team, I think, Tottenham Hotspur. They've got the best manager in the leagues outside of Pep Guardiola. The most stable team over the last 5 years. Dele Alli's gotten a nice rest after the World Cup. Christian Eriksen has had a nice rest. Even though they've been injured, what that does is they get some time to rest. They've been awful and haven't been near full strength. Vertonghen is out as well. Vertonghen and Rose will still come back. They'll be like brand new signings in January. So you can only expect Spurs to get stronger from here. They've been awful this season and are still just 5 points off the pace. Harry Kane hasn't started scoring. He's carrying the World Cup still. He'll come right because Eriksen and Dele Alli will take the load off him once fit. With all these injuries, they're still in the top 4 and still cruising and still have the new stadium to look forward to. And there's no more NFL to interrupt and make the pitch horrible. Spurs 3rd. Excuse me. In 2nd place, the Blues from Chelsea. And there's only one real reason. I'll give you a few reasons, but the real reason is they're the best player in the league. They have the best player in the league by a mile. Just as Leo Messi is the best in the world, Eden Hazard is the Lionel Messi of the English Premier League. They've been awful all season and they're still unbeaten. Surrey ball is still gelling. I think a few players probably need to go at the end of the season. And then he can find his own guys. And next season we will see the culmination of what he created at Napoli. David Luiz is just too dodgy at the back. I do not trust Chelsea's defense. I do not think they can win a championship whilst Luiz is at the back. We saw when he dived in against Man United, 1-0 up, very, very comfortable. He dived in, Juan Mata slipped it by him, and Martial did the rest. David Luiz is awful, awful, awful. That is the only reason I don't think Chelsea can seriously challenge, along with the fact that they don't have a striker. The asterisk is, if they can get Marko Arnautovic in January from West Ham, and it sounds like he's unsettled and wants to move, Chelsea can challenge for the top. But I think the contenders, the only real contenders, I think we need to be honest and accept it. In first place, Man City. They have to be, because they got better than last season. And they won it at Cantor last season. And they got the guy who was the Premier League Player of the Year the season before, in Riyad Mahrez, who makes them better. Leroy Sané gets into any other team, right from Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. He gets into any team in the world. And he can't get in, because they've got Mahrez, who's unbelievable. He gives them a bit of composure and probably a little bit more guile and cleverness on the sharp end. Sterling's a flying machine. Sané is a flying machine. Aguero's Aguero. But they were probably lacking just that guy who can unlock the defense with something clever. And in Spanish football, they call it the pausa. He's got that where it looks like he's got a second more than everyone else. He can dip a shoulder, Riyad Mahrez, which Sterling and Sané couldn't do last season. And he's going to get them over the edge. They've got Sergio Aguero, undoubtedly the second best striker in the world. I still think Suarez is the guy. But he's the greatest the Premier League's had in the last 10 years. Post Drogba, Sergio Aguero is the greatest in the Premier League's seen. And I think he is still the best. And they've got Aguero. At centre-back, they've got Laporte, who has now settled in. I think he's the best centre-back in the Premier League. He's athletic, his timing's perfect, and he could even play midfield. A Sergio Ramos with a left foot. Laporte been unbelievable at CB this year. He's made Stones look like Alessandro Nesta. And here's where I think they separate themselves. It's not enough that they've got probably the best midfield, but then they've got Mendy and Walker, who, if they aren't the quickest wing-backs in world football, then I don't know. Maybe Jordi Alba has something to say about that. But Bellerin's lost his pace. I think Kyle Walker would do him over 40 meters. They give them dynamism, and what you need in this formation with the tiki-taka, as Jordi Alba and Dani Alves used to do for Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, is they need to hug the touchline and be able to get up and down. So that dynamism, pace, and power. The recovery is unbelievable on both of them because they're actually Olympic sprinters. So you can't beat them for pace on the counter because Kyle Walker is freakishly quick. Mendy is pure power and pace. And Mendy's delivery is like nothing I've seen in a very, very long time. In a very long time. He whips in a wicked ball. David Silva is playing the best football of his life at 32. It is sickening. Not only is he the best number 10 that the English Premier League has ever seen, but he's added goals to it now. He's getting goals. So they've gotten better. He's gotten better. And their best player overall is only coming back in January. He'll be a January signing. He was the best player in the Premier League last year. There's no ways he shouldn't have won Premier League Player of the Year. It was a token award to Mo Salah. But Kevin De Bruyne still has to come back. He's their best player. He's their best player, and City are still walking away with the league as it stands. Sane, on occasions, Leroy Sane, as I told you, can't make the starting lineup. That's sickening, isn't it? Unless Chelsea get a striker, I don't see anybody posing a challenge to these guys. And then, of course, it helps when you've got the best coach in the world. Ever, maybe. Pep Guardiola is a managerial masterclass. Every time he's playing, I learn something new. I thought I'd seen it all, but my goodness. The inverted fullbacks, that's something I've never seen before, but he does it, and he makes it happen. And Edison's distribution's unbelievable, so he takes pressure off them defensively. It's like they've got 11 footballers out there. Man City, without a doubt, to win the league for me. That is my top 4 predictions, a quarter of the way through. I'll give another one post-Christmas in January. Just off those New Year fixtures, then the league tends to take shape. A lot is revealed about squads over December. Talking about things being revealed, this weekend is an international break. Sickening. It's the worst, isn't it? International football. You know what international football's like? It's like those guys who are above the age of 31 that still wear a vest and a chain. Why are you wearing a chain, buddy? You're not a gangster rapper. You don't need a chain with your vest. Come on, dude. No one needs that. You don't need a chain. Like, who are you? Snoop Dogg? Come on. As far as I'm concerned, guys who wear a vest and a chain in international football should be left where they belong in the 90s. FIFA have let the brand slip so badly that international football is not a brand anymore. Whenever I'm watching international football, I'm like, what am I watching? It's nothing. They've ignored the brand and they've hoped that nationalism and pride will just keep people coming back. The World Cup and Euros are not brands. They're just tournaments where guys gather every 4 years. They never build it. The Premier League is a clear brand. Glitz, glamour, international footballers, all in the same place. And then we'll throw in our tribalism and we'll sell that to the world. There we go. That's a brand. That's how you package a brand. And they've clearly worked hard at it since 1992. That's why it commands £6 billion just for the British rights. The Premier League, glitz, glamour, international footballers. Money like you can't believe. Everybody's got money. There's no easy games in the Premier League. What is international football? The friendlies, quite frankly, are just injury risks. I mean, look how many guys keep pulling out mysteriously with injuries and they're 100% fit a week later. Guy pulls out of the hamstring injury, he can't play, and he's perfect, sprinting full speed for his club the next weekend. So even the players are telling you, it's nonsense. Why not just play internationals every 2 years? That's my idea. Seriously. Euro, AFCONs, and then the CONCACAF or whatever's going on in South America, make that the World Cup qualifiers. Or just make Euros and AFCON. Make that the World Cup qualifier. That's it. That's it. We don't need anything else. If you're not good enough to make Euros, right? So we have every 2 years they should play friendlies to qualify for Euros and the World Cup. And if you're not good enough to make the Euros, you're not good enough to be in the World Cup. So don't worry about it. Just play friendlies every 2 years. Nobody wants to see international friendlies. They're terrible. Nobody watches. I don't care about San Marino against England and the story. That's terrible. I've got the FA Cup for that. Got Copa del Rey. I don't need that. Nobody wants to watch England against San Marino. FIFA and UEFA have gotten so greedy. It's like a snake eating its own tail. They think it's working and they think we're idiots as consumers. But we're like, no, this is Terrible. Just leave the Premier League on. And we can see by the ratings, and we can see by the numbers. And it's not like FIFA are going to make any less money because they make money off every league in the world. So no need to worry, FIFA. No need to worry, UEFA. Everybody's tied in to the advertising. Players are even pulling out injured, like I said. The players are letting you know they're taking the mickey. And the argument is always, when are we going to get to see the best play for their nations? Don't worry about it. We've got the Champions League now. The Champions League is the new internationals. Nobody cares about the World Cup. Everybody wants to win the Champions League. And people think I'm just saying it because South Africa are useless. No, England are useless. So lots of countries are useless. Seriously, there's only like 3 or 4 countries that can win a World Cup. International football, it's dead. On an ideological level, on a practical level, can it? Play every 2 years, and then AFCON and Euros, and the CONCACAF Cup, and the Euro and the Asia Cup, those can just be the qualifiers for the World Cup. Don't worry about it. If you can't make the Euros, you're not going to be good enough for the World Cup. So I don't need 10 friendlies a year. I need 10 friendlies or 10 qualifying games that matter, as international sports should, because this isn't Montessori where everybody gets a chance. This is top level competition. I want winners and losers. I want chips on the table. This isn't so little Tommy can feel better about himself. I'm sorry, that's for Montessori school. This is top level football and entertainment. And international football is just an injury risk now. Why do we keep accepting it? Seriously, FIFA, get it together and let's get it canned. Because all I want to do is watch the Premier League. Because that's where it's at. It's a brand, glitz, glamour, the best players in the world, extraordinary amounts of money, high pressure games. Nothing is a given in the Premier League. San Marino against Spain, really? How much money do FIFA and UEFA need? Like, is 3 billion a year not enough? Do you need 50 billion a year? Players get injured, you're affecting the world product. And if FIFA want to look after the world product, you have to look after the players. How much more football do we need? The League of Nations is a joke. It is an absolute joke. We've already got the Champions League. We've already got Europa. We've already got We've already got the league system. We've already got La Liga. That's enough. That's enough. Do us a favor. International football, as far as I'm concerned, is terrible. Champions League, Premier League, enough. FIFA need to get serious and they need to sort it out. That's it for this week from the Bleachers with me, MKT. I'll catch you tomorrow. Remember, like and subscribe, share this, and more is on the way in the future. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Have an awesome, awesome evening.